nice cold Cape Town morning, and we are sitting at just 2 minutes past 10. Today's discussion is all about, do you need a business confidant, and what is a business confidant exactly? So we thought that's in a world of coaching, in a world of help, in a world of mentors and all those great things, advisors and consultants, we thought we have a talk about what the difference between those various forms of expertise, and also how we see ourselves fit into a market like that as well. So we thought we'd share a little bit of information about the different aspects. We thought we'd share what we did a little bit, and then see if people are willing and ready to have a coach, or have someone help them and guide them through either their personal journey or their business journey as well. So as a quick introduction, we started these sessions during or when lockdown started, and we've continued them post-lockdown, or I suppose post the firm lockdown, as a way of connecting, of chatting, of sharing information, and having a nice way for SMEs and business owners to sort of have a community to chat to. It's a very informal sort of setting, so we don't mind questions, we don't mind a few discussions taking place, but the idea is to share some relevant content and then to have a chat about it afterwards. So if you do want to ask questions or make comments, you're more than welcome to. You can raise your hands, and we'll dial you in or bring you into the conversation as we do. All right. So just quickly, we as OptiGrowth see ourselves as business confidants. We help business owners take a step back and view their businesses from a more objective perspective, and then try and prioritize strategies to grow their business and to scale their businesses. What that means is we see ourselves as co-executives, so acting as though we are shareholders and directors in the business, just without the formal ownership and the benefits that bring with that. So we are contract based, but we take a very keen interest in what the business is doing, and also how the business owners are doing, and share information as we need to do that. And again, the whole idea is to bring out the true potential of what the business owner and that business can do. So understanding the critical elements and factors and facets of that business to then help that business owner grow and push forward. All right, Henk, do you want to add in there before we move on?
Yeah, no, that's spot on, Damion. Morning, everybody. Yeah, so this is often a discussion, when I started some of my businesses many years ago, and it's many years ago, we didn't have things like coaches and those sort of things. Coaches was for sport, and if you needed an advisor, it was more consultant sort of approach, and it cost serious money. So it was more corporate consideration for coaches. But in today's modern age, is definitely a role for people to play in working with business owners in growing their potential.
Right, awesome. Okay, so we thought we'd start with the first question of what's the difference then. So, I mean, we get asked this quite often about the difference between a coach, a mentor, an advisor, consultant. So we thought what we do is just sort of give a high level overview of what those different sort of facets are and expertise are, because in our opinion, they're all experts in their own rights. They all have various skill sets and ways of doing business. So I think a very nice quote and phrase is: a coach has some great questions for your answers, a mentor has some great answers for your questions, right? So in that sense, then mentoring seems to be an offline help. It's a one person to another making significant transitions in knowledge. So the way we see it as a mentor doesn't necessarily have insight into what's happening within a business environment. And again, we're focusing today very heavily on business, not on personal. Although they do often lap over quite substantially. But again, today's focus is more about the business and the SME, rather than the individual sort of life coaching or personal coaching session as well. So in a business sense, a mentor understands or has experience with regards to how they've got to where they are. They've got a career understanding, and they share significant information or knowledge around the way we work and the way we think. They might not have insight into the actual operations or the sort of prescribed ways of doing business in that environment, but they share their hard-learned experiences and knowledge with a potential mentee then. When it comes to coaching enables a process of learning and development. So it talks to how do we produce and how do we get ourselves through a particular understanding, how do we develop a variety of skills, and how do we teach techniques or bring across techniques in the context of development, right? So a little bit of where I've read up and sort of studied a little bit on it is coaching tends to be a very short-term engagement, whereas mentoring tends to be a far longer-term engagement. So coaching talks to understanding what we're doing. Mentoring is more of a guiding and a steering perspective. So again, when it comes down to that quote of a coach has great questions to our answers, we tend to look at why are you thinking the way you are? How do you bring about that thought process? And why are you going this route to try and get some self-discovery or self-learning? Whereas a mentor will give you an answer to questions you may have. Both of them tend to bring in and build positive attitudes, right? So build positivity to bring concrete changes into individuals and to help boost the knowledge. So it's a bit of a different angle, right? The one does a lot of sort of introspection work, the other one does a lot of sort of guidance work, but they both try and bring about change to a knowledge set, change to a way of doing things, and a benefit and a building of I suppose an area of interest. A business advisor, on the other hand, talks to understanding what's going on in a certain environment and then advising on certain ways forward, allowing the person involved or the recipient of that advice to make a decision that best fits them, right? Now, when we look at an advisor versus a consultant, an advisor will be somebody who offers the advice, shares it with a sort of an intention of a sort of brainstorming session, whereas a consultant will take that or take some knowledge set, take some skill sets, and almost instruct a way of doing things, a better way of implementing things. So there's quite a big difference really between a coach and a mentor, right? And then an advisor and a consultant. There's definitely a tend more towards a sharing of information or sharing of knowledge versus a development of understanding. Whereas an advisor, you are sharing a whole load of information, giving the person a chance to sort of acquire and process that, and a consultant sort of gives information or walks away from it. So what makes a confidant very different then? Right? A confidant is somebody, and as OptiGrowth, we play in the space as well, is somebody who takes a holistic view of the business and offers a space where you can become more intimate with that business, right? Sharing intimate knowledge about how the business operates, and then most times in the business owner's case, also sharing some personal information as well. A confidant tends to use business methodologies, right? Either through hard-learned experience or studies, and becomes a sounding board of how to produce or how to work better. So already you can see there's a bit of overlap between a coach and a mentor in the space, because a confidant could be seen as playing in both those angles. Now, it might not be a defined coaching mechanism, but again, there's a transfer of knowledge, there's a testing of the business, and there's a way of understanding how that fits into the company as well, and particularly into the business owner's way of developing their business as well.
Damion, I just want to mention quickly, so the whole approach here really is to also encourage confidence and to assist people to gain confidence on aspects that perhaps they were not familiar with or they were fearful of and they didn't have a handle on. So in the whole process towards growing the business, you also want the people to become confident along that same process.
Perfect. So like we said in the introduction, a business confidant like OptiGrowth tends to see ourselves as acting as either a director in the company or acting as a shareholder. And again, I think the word acting is quite important, because what you then tend to do is take a personal interest in how the company develops, how the shareholders and the directors develop, but without any formal ownership, without any formal takeaway from that business. And I think in that discussion also gives the business owner a bit of confidence to start sharing more without potentially losing the value of what they're trying to build. All right. So the question then gets asked is why is a business confidence so important, right? And it's all about change of perspective. So one thing we pick up, and I'll talk on the slide now, one thing we pick up with regards to business ownership is it becomes a very lonely environment, right? As a business owner, and I'm very fortunate to work with firstly my parents, but also two other business partners who have very similar values and very similar targets we set for ourselves. But if you're a sole business owner, or you have a partnership or a business relationship with somebody where you aren't that close, you aren't that and your values or maybe your goals aren't as similar, it becomes a very lonely environment. It becomes very difficult to sort of migrate or to work through some of the key aspects and some of the difficult challenges we have as business owners. So there's a very nice phrase that we mention quite often. Being a business owner tends to be we wake up in the mornings being either highly stressed and or highly excited. So we keep playing on this sort of edge of falling apart versus building and making something happen, right? And the problem is, as a business owner, we can't share critical information to our business with either our partners, our life partners, or either with friends or family of ours as well, because nobody has insight into what's going on in your company. So while they may offer advice, while they may offer, perspective or something, they don't tend to know what goes on within your business. Now, if we look at our current situation, while being a business owner is difficult enough and making your company grow and work, and the hard graft of working through things, we've got this thing called our governments and our economy and social trends and pandemics that are making us a lot more hesitant about where to go. The uncertainty of what's going to happen, the confidence levels of where we're going to be going becomes very difficult. And I thought I'd just share this slide because it speaks to what's currently happening within our South African context. And you'll notice on the left-hand side in the slide on the left, we talk about our business confidence index being at its lowest levels for a very long time. Or sorry, 1975 even, right? Since the record has started. And what that says is it was an assessment across the board of various business owners and businesses about how they feel about where their companies are going. Now, obviously, in July 2020, we have been probably about 3 or 4 months within the lockdown. A lot of businesses have lost a lot of revenue, if not closed down, and we don't know what's going to happen next. At this point of the assessment, or this point of the survey, there was no understanding of when the lockdown would start easing. We didn't know if level 2 was coming. There was still the question about tobacco versus alcohol banning. So as a population group, as a business entity, there was no clear guidelines of what was coming and when it was coming. You'll notice one of our highest in recent times of business confidence was the period where Ramaphosa was elected as president, or selected as president, I suppose, or elected as president. And with that came a lot of hope that he would reform some of the government policies, either to support business because he himself is a businessman, but also to start making some moves towards policy certainty. Now, one thing that we talk about policy certainty is there a way that we can operate within the confines of the law, confines of regulation, that we can grow and enhance our businesses? Now, if you guys don't know, there was a gazetted legislation, I think it was at the beginning of July, where government wants to enhance and tighten up on the BE legislation and effectively look at how can they take or to have a stronger hand in defining different industries and going down as far as individual businesses to the amount of black ownership that they have to have in those companies. Now, already there's a huge issue internationally about our BE regulations. The concept of it is a good one. Unfortunately, we feel that the implementation of it isn't as good because it doesn't allow for foreign investment, doesn't allow for people to invest, because now you've got this cloud hanging over you of criteria being used to allow more business to happen. So with those sort of things coming in, it just adds more uncertainty into an environment that already is uncertain. You can see on the right-hand side, there's a global indication of how business confidence has gone globally. Now, if you look at the top black line, business confidence increased globally in 2018 to, I suppose, one of its highest levels ever, and is at a radical dip now due to the pandemic coming in as well. I would assume, and I would think that past 2018, that dip there was because of things like trade tensions between the US and China. Now, when the two biggest economies in the world start arguing and start putting on, I suppose, having a bit of a trade war, the uncertainty of where production will come from, the uncertainty of pricing, the uncertainty of how we will operate also becomes very uncertain. The markets start getting very nervous about where to play. Add to that the pandemic, and we've got this radical drop in the year 2020 down to some of its lowest levels ever. However, if you look at the black line, you can see there has been a slight or a starting of increase of confidence globally again. Whereas in South Africa, because we are still one of the heaviest lockdown countries in the world, maybe not anymore, but were at the time, we were still dipping with regards to our business confidence. A very sad but very unfortunate real situation. So the question will be, how do we take this sort of information? How do we use this information with regards to the current state of our economy, the current state of our business environment, and turn it around, right? Now, as a business owner, you might not always have all the detail, you might not have all the facts, but you have a feeling of it, right? And that feeling could be justified, it could be unjustified. And a business confidant is somebody who can just help you talk through that a little bit, understand it, and try and use it to your benefit, right? So we firmly believe that anywhere there's a potential problem, there's an opportunity to fix that problem. So how do we move around in a way that we can use or leverage some of this bad information and make it good for our business as well? And I think that's where the change of perception, perspective comes in. How do I look at a problem or something differently and get out of the mindset of where I currently am? And to add some more some more news, some more bad news to bad news. It was also released at the end of last month that we are the third most miserable country to be in at the moment as well, behind Venezuela and Argentina. And the index measures the inflation rates of countries and the unemployment rate as well. So because our unemployment rate is so high, and because our inflation rates, lucky for us now, is quite low, we are seen to be a very miserable country to live in, as terrible as it sounds. The biggest thing there is that we need to also realize that it's only going to get worse, right? Before the pandemic, we were already sitting on a 30% unemployment rate as a country. Government has estimated that between 3 and 7 million more jobs could be lost, obviously inflating that unemployment rate as well. So the news here, unfortunately, from a discussion point of view, isn't a good one, right? Our economies aren't looking too good. Our government isn't giving us any certainty about where it's moving to or what policies it can implement to help growth, to help strengthen business. And we're sitting in a situation where, as business owners, we've got to try and make decisions on a very sort of unstable foundation. And the question will be is, how do we go about doing that? Now, I suppose if you're listening to this and thinking, Damion, how are you sitting as a confidant and give me such bad news? The question will be is, what do we look at your business now, and how do we take the elements you can control and build those to avoid the negatives of that macro environment, or the things we can't control? All right. So we'll get into more detail about this a bit later. But again, we have to start looking internally. So how do we understand, firstly, where we are as a business? What is our business's life cycle, right? Do we understand, the maturity of our company and how we stand at that maturity cycle already? And can we improve that, right? Do we know what businesses are struggling with? So really, if we're looking at the macro factors again, at the external environment, where are the current pitfalls that businesses are falling into, right? As an example, because of the pandemic, revenue streams are being cut dramatically, right? And people are losing up to, if not 100%, 2/3 of their revenue, which means that they can't afford the expenses anymore. They can't afford rent. They can't afford, a lot of their sort of business operations. So how do we go about eliminating some expenses? Or how do we go about trying to find new sources of revenue, new sources of income? And then the question will be is, how do we take certain facets or elements of our business, and how do we start mitigating the risk around that? And when we talk about our 8 factors, we then look at things like financial planning. Do I understand how my financials are looking? We work it all the way down to something like, how does my succession plan look? Do I have an organizational structure that still works in the current situation we have right now? And that will talk to something like your staff. Is my staff component fit for what I'm currently earning? Or can I cut some staff because I'm no longer producing as much, I'm no longer earning as much, or I've pivoted my business into something that now requires a different skill set or different sort of structure in my company as well. So when we look at the macro environment and the things we can't control, it's all about then coming back and saying, how do I take what I can control, my micro environment, and then positioning that to start making a difference? Because the alternative is, if I can't do that, I close my doors and move on, right? Henk, do you want to add anything?
Yeah, I think the emphasis is also on being objective. So it doesn't help we fool ourselves. If we are not selling the way we should, then there may be internal reasons why we are not actually entering the market, not just because of the economy, but also because perhaps we don't have trained personnel, we don't have the tools, or we don't have a product that's well thought through. So one needs to be objective. And I think when it comes to having that soundboarding ability next to you, somebody that you can talk to, is to actually face facts sometimes and really work hard at it. Have disagreements with each other and about what is the best way forward. Debate the point to the point of actually really having different opinions, and then get to a point where you find the best way forward. And that soundboarding and objective view, I think, is critical to the confident relationship with any business owner.
100%. All right. So what does a relationship with a confidant and then entail? How do we go about starting this discussion, or how do we go about finding somebody who fits both the confidant role but also the business owner who's keen to work with a confidant? So the first thing is we have to look under the hood, right? We have to be able to understand all the nitty-gritty, all the good and the ugly details about what's happening within that business environment. Because if we don't know that, then we can't start understanding where to correct. We can't start making efforts to correct that. And one way of doing that is to do either an assessment or a benchmark to test your business against either a methodology of sorts or a set of maturity of key facets of your business. And what that entails is having like Henk mentioned, a objective view of where your business currently stands. And I think that's another element that we tend to forget about as business owners. We get very emotionally entrenched in what we're doing, and we don't take a step back and just say, okay, where am I right now? And if I look at this project I'm building, this entity I'm building, how does it stack up against the rest of the environment, the rest of the world, and the rest of the business understanding as well? So taking that assessment and really looking at the critical factors that are affecting my business now. Once we've done that, the next element is to understand, where can we look at building that? How can we find those key areas, and how can we address them and start working on them? And can we then build a roadmap into how to get my company to a state that is either more mature or that is adhering more to the methodologies of what a business will state, right? And these can be either long-term strategies or they can be short-term turnarounds. So as an example, one of the key things that we would focus on is, do you have a hand in your financials? Now, I think we can all agree that as a business, a key or the spine of your company will be good and valued management of your financial system, right? So do I understand that my company is profitable? Does this business model actually work? Am I able to understand that I'm making profits, right? And does that profit result in cash flow? Now, if I can't measure that, now whether I'm making it or not, because I suppose the end result is there's money in the bank, but if I can't measure, firstly, am I making enough money to survive? How is the money being made, and is the model working? We will always have questions of am I doing the right thing moving forward? So a quick and easy fix to get something like your financials up to scratch, right? Now, it sounds easy, it sounds effective, and I think for most of us, financials tends to be quite a scary thing, but implementing a basic system like that is a very short-term fix we can do. However, the longer-term strategy, the longer-term engagement will then be, how do we start looking forward into managing our financials correctly, doing things like a financial forecast, doing cash flow forecasts, and then even looking to places like a valuation of my business, the same way we would have a valuation of the house. All right.
Damion, I think it's important to just re-emphasize the aspect of accountability. So any coach, any consultant, any confidant, any advisor to the business can highlight all these aspects and want to focus on to grow your business and of course to scale it. But somebody needs to be held accountable, and actions need to be assigned to people. Those actions need to be monitored for progress, and it actually need to be revisited, reviewed constantly to ensure that ultimately your goals and your strategies are reached. So it's absolutely critical that people are held accountable during this whole process.
100%. So remember, we as most coaches, mentors, or even advisors will know, there's only so much you can do to get the business going as well. So there's only so much advice, there's so much knowledge and so much handholding you can do. Somebody has to start walking the walk, and that walking the walk is the accountability the business owner takes to implement that strategy and to implement those plans into their business. All right. So the question will then be, if we know what a coach does, if we know what a mentor does, if we know what a confidant does, there's got to be a handshake or a relationship built there. And as good as a coach, or as good as a mentor, or as good as a confidant can be, there's got to be the other side, the business owner who works with that confidant, who has that relationship to start working it. And there are a few key traits that we need to consider when we do something like coaching, mentoring, that the business owner has to take on. And one of those is a willingness to change. We have to have somebody on the other side of the table who's willing to listen, who's willing to understand there are things that can change, and is willing to take the action to change that. There obviously, with that discussion comes a lot of learning, right? Nobody should ever stop learning, right? Even as business coaches or life coaches or accountants or that kind of stuff, you're constantly building yourself to acquire more information, to use that information to some extent to apply it to a situation. Henk mentioned that sporting teams have coaches as well. The best athletes in the world tend to be the ones who keep a coach to make them better, even when they are the best in the world. So that constant ability to learn and that constant willingness to change and improve is what we also want to look at. The next one is a readiness to take action. And I think this is one area where we find business owners tend to struggle the most is having the readiness to take action, because unfortunately that takes time. It takes the ability to move yourself out of the day-to-day operations and to start looking at your business from a higher level of I suppose viewing, and taking a plan and implementing it through your business, and to see the changes happening and allow them to change as well.
I mean, so with
And the
that
last,
action comes risk, of course, So when you take action, besides the time, it also may cost money. So you have to invest, you have to take a risk. And having that willingness to change and to learn, you will then be able to measure the results of your actions. and thereby have an optimal focus on the investment you need to make to take those actions.
That's a good point. All right, and the last one is to be adaptable. So like Henk mentioned, even if we're taking a risk, sometimes those things don't work out. Sometimes mistakes are made. Sometimes we do the wrong thing, or we approach the wrong element and something else happens. And we need to be flexible to change what we do and change where your focus is to adapt to what's needed to be focused on right now then. So those 4 areas of traits that's a business owner or recipient of any sort of confident work or coach, even coaching or mentoring work, has to be there to make the relationship work properly. Right? The biggest thing about a confident is it has to be based on a fundamental base has to be trust. So both the business owner and the confident have to trust each other that they are working for the best state of the business, and that the information being shared is being shared at the level of firstly confidentiality, of course, but also that we are both in this process together. We are both working at it as best we can, and that while mistakes are made, because it can be made on both sides, that there are going to be efforts to make it better and to improve it. And then the last thing is, many business owners think that the change will happen overnight. That once we discuss a strategy and build this beautiful document that states all these great things we're going to be doing and all the goals we want to achieve, it actually takes time to implement. It becomes a journey we've got to go on together. It becomes a path we have to travel together, and it becomes a long-term action. No business changes overnight. No company that looks like they've done well. Something like Zoom, for example. Everyone thinks Zoom is an overnight success. Zoom's been around for 10 years. They were just ready when the market changed. They were ready with a program that was stable, and they were able to adapt quite quickly to put in changes as the pandemic and as the world started needing that service. So it's all about making sure we're ready and taking that journey together and looking at a long-term relationship. And of course, working as a team on it as well. And I think the nice thing or the really good quote that we like to always play on is, the only constant is change. In business, the only constant is change. So we have to keep adapting, we have to keep moving forward, and have to keep assessing where the business is at a certain point in time. We thought we'd add some sort of quotes from people with regards to how they've seen a confidence. So a quote from Lisa Caples was, "He was my confidant, the person who was always on my side, even when he wasn't taking my side." And I think the nice part there is you have to be able to have good debates and arguments about where to go. You've got to push the boundaries a bit. The confidant has to push you outside of your comfort zone slightly and see how far we can go. And you got to push back as the business owner to try and make sure that we get to the right point, right to that right sweet spot of where to go to. And remember, with any good relationship, sometimes arguments and debates are part and parcel of getting to understand where we want to go to better as well. So having those good debates and having those different viewpoints is what makes the relationship work as well. Another one is George from Tessa's Bakery. Having our confidence on our team has not only strengthened the foundations of our business, but has in turn made us each more confident in the roles we fulfill. So again, playing that bit of a mentoring and sharing the knowledge and sharing the experiences of where you've come from as a confidant, and moving that into an environment that's fit for that business's need as well. And then lastly, be your own guide. Be your own guide, confident and advisor. Trust yourself above all others. All right. Henk, all yours. I'm going to take over here.
Yeah, okay, thanks, Damion. Yeah, so talking about confidence, Nat, it's absolutely critical that when we exude confidence, people perceive us differently. They see in us perhaps values that we don't even really realize we have. And especially in a market that's difficult, that's challenging, and that is competitive, there are some key aspects that one can consider. So just a little bit of a guideline quickly. Package yourself for success, dressing well, communicating with others, prepare yourself, and come across as though you're on top of your game, already have a installed confidence with people to why they should actually deal with you and why they should allow you in their personal environment. Correct your posture. So also don't slouch in meetings. I mean, these things we all know this, but I often advise people, because I remind myself with every day of my life, if I talk to somebody, I literally get out of my chair and I stand up and maybe even walk around a bit, and I talk with my phone while I'm walking. And the person on the other side feels a different energy. So small little tips that can add to your confidence level. These things are stuff that when you start doing it as part of your lifestyle, it actually embeds a certain level of trust already when you deal with a customer or with a supplier, staff, or any other person in your business. Damian?
And just to add to that, there's another phrase that also says when you talk to somebody on the phone, smile. So you come across like you're happier or like you're in a more positive state when you're smiling, apparently. So when you
Yeah.
talk to someone on the phone, put a smile on your face and have a chat to them.
Yeah. So also we strongly believe that, yeah, sure, you need to take cognizance of the past, but it's actually about where you are going. So there's a big difference between accounting and financial planning. As an example, accounting looks in the past. Financial planning looks towards the future. Where are you going with your financial planning, with your investment of your business, growing the value of your business, and need to be able to look forward. So if you take that time out to actually focus on your goals and refocus and review on it, it will actually help you to keep your eye on the ball. All right. So quite often, and I'm definitely one of those, I'm very critical of myself. I really take it hard if I feel I failed at something or I made a mistake. And I think it's also from an experience point of view, as you start getting to know yourself better, you know where your shortcomings are. So we all make mistakes and you can't expect to be perfect. So dwelling on those small mistakes or errors or things you could have done better actually does nothing to help you to move forward. So standing still is not what we need to do and contemplate with the mistakes in the past. It's actually what we're going to do about the future again. Thanks, Damien.
It's a very good quote that my father told me a few times as a young and upcoming business person focused on a career, is that he has learned things, or sorry, he has forgotten things that I am still learning. And I think the reason why I'm saying that is because even though we may have done things before, we still make the same mistakes sometimes because we have forgotten the experience we've learned as well.
Yeah, very true. All right. So quite often people take confidence in knowing that they're doing their best, but it's a natural go-to when you're actually not performing well. You're not on top of your game. You actually worry more. You become stressed, and people can also sense that. So people who lack self-assurance often stress about what others may think about them. So it's not even for themselves how they feel about their own situation, but often people are fearful of what is projected to the outside world. Okay, so as long as we try our best and take cognizance that we or confidence in that, the idea is to actually to grow and improve. So a smaller compliment, celebrate your success stories, and a good business coach, advisor, mentor, confidant, any of these people that actually get involved in your business will know that you need to actually celebrate successes. You cannot just work towards goals and focus on the challenges in your life. You also have to take time out and boost your confidence a bit by looking at your accomplishments, small or big, of course, but small ones especially, and share that with people around you. Talk to your staff, talk to customers and suppliers and people around you, other experts, and try at that courtesy call. It's one of the big things we always talk about. Call up people. It just encourages people to open up with you and to actually relate to you in a different way. Okay, Damian? Right, schedule time to play. So yeah, it's difficult. We are always busy, busy, busy. During the pandemic now, people, generally speaking, had the feeling that the first month was perhaps a little free holiday. We're all going to take time out. But I think the honeymoon actually very quickly disappeared into major concern for your business. And we're back into the grinding stone, working that hours a day into weekends, and then we take out time. So especially if you're getting more successful in your business, take the time out, say thank you to yourself as well, and attack that burnout that may actually be detrimental to your not just your personal lifestyle, of course, but to your business as well.
I think just to add to that, it also goes further than that. It's fine when you're on your own business, but if you have a team or a management structure underneath you, it's important to show them as well that their hard work is appreciated, and to also take them out of the business sort of grinding wheel and let them go out and have a bit of fun with you as a company, and not only to be work focused all the time as a business.
Yeah. Yeah, and then don't be afraid to ask for advice. So that's the whole thing about having a soundboard next to you to actually take on your business challenges. Getting back to the objective opinions, that objective look at your business, face the facts as they are, debate it strongly, and look at these things differently. Think of how you can overcome your challenges, but with a focus of being objective. Take it on the chin if you know that you have to improve things, but it's about what you're going to do forward to actually overcome those challenges and transform your attitude along the line. And the last one is to embrace positivity. So along the line of celebrating successes, we need to look. Damion put up some slides earlier on about the poor state of the economy, the risk we have of crime in this country, and all other kinds of corruption issues, and it just comes from everywhere. So how do we actually work against this negativity? How do we counteract this negative energy all around? And again, show small gratitudes, be kind to people around you, kind in a way that you're comfortable. There's this good saying about paying forward, but you also need to take cognizance that perhaps paying forward, what does it mean for you as working in an environment where you get satisfaction, where you get positive vibes around it? It's very difficult to work in an environment where you constantly get negative feedback. So pick your areas where you want to focus on small acts of kindness. It should be appreciated, and it should work back at you as well to build a collaborative community of positiveness. That in that way, a forum like we have today, as an example, it's very easy to sit and talk about how difficult business is. But we need to work together in a forum, in a group, in an environment of small business ownership to actually build those positive attitudes. Okay, Damion.
Right. And then just as a way of our, Henk, which is giving back, as a way of our giving back, we've created a shared folder with a load of information, probably more focused towards the pandemic and items around the pandemic and lockdown. As most of you will know, we aren't out of the lockdown yet. We had a very lower level of lockdown, but there are still areas that we need to consider. So as an example, we've got our state of disaster still stands until 15th of September. That still means that something like TERS payments are still an option for people or for companies who don't have income or aren't being paid full salaries. So we've shared a folder with tons of information about being business ready for the pandemic, about how to go about, UIF payments, other payments that we feel are relevant to businesses. So if you'd like, there is a link in the presentation. We can always share with you as well to share some key and relevant information around how to go about doing a business. We've also had weekly and now twice monthly check-ins. So all those check-ins that we've had have been recorded, and we've uploaded those to a YouTube channel. So if you want information about anything relevant, we've gone from things like business discussions all the way through to how to keep fit, how to eat properly, how to do gardening. All those videos and all those discussions have been put onto YouTube. So if you are interested, go to your OptiGrowth page, subscribe, like the page, and share if you want to as well. You can see all our old webinars there. And that's it for today. So I'd like to open up if anyone has any questions or comments. If you have any opinions about what I said today, I would love to hear your opinions or share some more information. If you have a business confidant, or if you have a coach or mentor and you want to give a shout out to them as well, we would happily hear that and happily share that as well.
Morning, guys. Lisa here.
Hi, Lisa.
Morning. So I have been with OptiGrowth for what's it now, in the third year?
Many years.
It's longer. Many years. Yeah. And I'm not going to bore you with how the business has grown, but just in terms of when there's just something on my mind or something I'm not sure of, then I know that I can reach out to you guys in terms of just finding out, what's the best thing to do. And I use you guys mostly for very practical business stuff. And when I want something a little bit more emotional, all fairness to you guys, but if I want to just get down to maybe I'm struggling with a particular client, just not, feeling good about something, I do use Karen Powell. So you guys are all confident in your own way. And I feel like often you need more than just one, because there's different elements of business that needs to be addressed. So yeah, I highly recommend that you find that person, whoever it is. And I don't think it's someone you can go out and search for. I think kind of happens and comes across your path, and then you realize that's the persons that you can rely on when you need them for certain things.
Yeah, no, listen, Lisa, absolutely. And I agree with you. it's all about collaboration. So there's not one specific expert that can do everything for you in your business. Just simply, you can't do it for your own business, So you need to, I think, horses for courses, and you need to find that trust relationship with the right people. So any coach or mentor that works with a business owner need to be open to collaboration with other experts in the marketplace. Otherwise, you will work in silos, you will work independent, and it's not the idea. One needs to share information, one needs to work together, and then find the benefits and the actual practical results that can help you to grow your business forward. So thanks for those comments.
Yes, thanks, Lisa. I see Rhoda, your hand.
Sorry. Do Rhoda?
Hi, sorry, Barbara. Yeah. So I think just listening in, I know I came in a bit late, but I've heard the majority and what it was all about, the topic. Obviously my right-hand confidant will be Alfonso in the business, always having somebody to chat to. So obviously 24/7. And then I have to say OptiGrowth for sure. Henk has been instrumental in our business, being the first generation business owners. And then Barbara as well, and Damion as well. I can only take my hat off to you. We've been in the program with Sun International, and I can just highly recommend you guys for sure. You've made such a big impact in our lives. And Henk, yesterday was a turning point in our business as well. And just the collaboration with you, Henk, made such a massive, I could sleep last night. Having to look at the ease, basically light at the end of the tunnel. So having the confidence to be able to speak to somebody else, either than your partner in business, having to somebody else in business was brilliant. So it made quite a big difference for me and Alfonso. And I want to thank you guys again. Hats off to you guys. Well done. Job well done.
Yeah, thanks, Rhoda. But just a reminder, it's also teamwork, So it's in that collaboration environment or focus of working together. And it's very encouraging to actually learn with you guys, not only about your business, but also about taking those results wider into other business aspects. Other customers of ours can benefit from the results we got from you, as an example, Rhoda and Alfonso. So it's a great thing to look back and to see the successes and to work forward in applying back that results and experience to help other people as well. Great stuff. Thanks, Rhoda.
Damion, if I can quickly come in here, obviously being part of the team, with us coming into this journey of coaching and confidence, having come from a small business where we didn't actually see the purpose of it, and then realizing that this is something that we enjoy doing. I think our biggest thing, and Rhoda, thank you for coming on the Sun International side, and I see we've got Wendy here as well, where we're looking at corporates that are actually assisting small business owners that are within their fields to actually get the sort of coaching and training that they need, because as Rhoda said, a lot of them are actually first generation business owners and they've never actually had the formal training on how to run a business. A lot of the people I think we see in business right now are either people that have been retrenched from jobs where they were experts at what they do, but they've never actually been able to run a business. I think what I just feel that currently in the climate we find ourselves with, unemployment, most probably a lot thanks to COVID, but also before COVID, a lot of people are being forced to be entrepreneurs where they not necessarily are comfortable in that space, and they don't actually have the means to get some coaching and guidance and help. And this is probably why we end up having so many small businesses failing, because they don't have an idea of how to do it. And I think on this forum here, just to say thank you to the corporates that are coming on board to actually assist these people to get the guidance and learning that they need to go through. So it's great to be part of it. It's wonderful being able to help people.
Cool. Thanks, Barbara. All right. If there's anyone else who wants to say something or raise their hands, we're more than welcome to. It's now 10 to 11. So if there are no more comments or questions or discussion points, I'm going to close the meeting out. And so thank you so much for joining us.